Hi, I'm Colin Stephen from Velocity Press, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and I'm lucky enough today to have Colin Stevens here, who is a book publisher, a magazine editor, and also a speaker. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, no, thank you so much. So you're a speaker, book publisher, and you also do magazines. Tell me a little bit about your background, first of all, in what actually got you into it.
Well, I mean, I started writing about kind of club culture a very long time ago, and that kind of got me into writing kind of like freelance. So I kind of started off. I mean, I didn't actually show much interest in it. School. I liked English. I read a lot, but academically, I think I did. I was okay. I wasn't amazing, but at that time, I saw an advert in a Glasgow listings magazine. They were looking for a clubs editor, and I thought that sounded like a great way to get into clubs for free. And it was, you know, like I was saying, it was I got this really cheeky letter and kind of got, I got the job basically, and I was like, shit, I'm actually going to have to deliver. And like I say, and that was it. It kind of got me started, and like I say, and that kind of led on to kind of writing more and more kind of stuff, and then kind of trying to write for other magazines, becoming a bit of a freelance journalist. Yeah. So that's how it kind of got me started with magazines. And I set up my own magazine, Knowledge Magazine, in 1994. That was kind of like mostly drum and bass, jungle.
Yeah,
and,
I was reading on the website.
Yeah, and then kind of I did a book, or published a book by Brian Bill Fortune in 2004 called All Crews. That kind of got me into kind of doing books as well. And the last few years, like I say, I've kind of the speaking thing is kind of a lot of people, because of my experience now, kind of want me to kind of appear on panels and kind of be a moderator and things like that. So I've started doing that as well. So I'm not kind of taking me out of my comfort zone a little bit, that one. But
is that a good thing? Is that a good thing to come out of your comfort zone and to do
definitely.
other things?
Yeah, challenge yourself. You know, as I'm saying, you get too easy and too complacent sometimes, just doing the same old thing. You've got to keep challenging yourself, and like I say, it really takes me quite far outside my comfort zone. Sometimes when you're there on stage and you're kind of all these people are looking at you, but I enjoy it. It gets the adrenaline going.
Yeah, most definitely. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up.
So I grew up in Glasgow in Scotland. That was. I had a great time. I mean, it's funny. I mean, the Glasgow music and club scene I didn't really appreciate how good it was until I left. I just took it for granted. You know, I used to go to see a lot of indie gigs in the mid-'80s, a lot of different venues, particularly the one back Glasgow Barrowlands was a great place. Saw so many good bands there, and that kind of bands like the Smiths, Echo and the Bunnymen. So it was more kind of indie kind of stuff.
That's
I was going to go and see. Yeah, and it's funny because I mean, I kind of getting into hip hop. Was kind of got me into kind of dance music, and I remember there was a band called Big Audio Dynamite. There was Mick Jones from The Clash. He kind of kicked out The Clash, and he formed this band with Don Letts, and they were kind of pretty big for a while. Like I say, in the mid-'80s, had a few kind of top 40 hits, but they kind of had a great tour. They did it at the Barrowlands. They had about 7 support acts, and one of them was a guy called Schoolie D, probably the original kind of like gangster rapper from Philadelphia, like I say, and his breaks have been sampled everywhere. You would know his breaks if you heard them. Anyway, that just blew me away. Like I say, I remember seeing him. The crowd hated him. You know what I'm saying? You've got to remember as well, probably this is 99% white as well in Glasgow Barrowlands. And I saw so many great hip hop gigs there. I saw like Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, LL Cool J on the same bill. And that got me going into clubs. And one in particular, the Sub Club's quite famous. That got me kind of going there. And this was kind of like again, more like the late 80s, and it was more kind of like rare groove and hip hop they were playing at that time. And then kind of Acid House kicked in, and the Sub Club was the place to be. I was there some Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was fantastic times. And I left Glasgow in 1990 to go to Liverpool. But I mean, Glasgow, like I said again, when I kind of look back, like I say, it was really, really quite far ahead of its time. How sophisticated the club scene was, like I say, in the promotion, the parties, like the scale of it was, it was ahead of its time.
Ooh. What made you realise that you wanted to be a book publisher? What made you realise that this is actually something that I want to do?
Well, you know, it's funny because it kind of, I mean, Knowledge was, they'd been going quite a while, and I had no real plans to kind of get into book publishing. I was quite happy being a kind of magazine publisher, but then like Brian Bell Fortune approached me. He had published the first editions of All Crew's book in '99, and it sold out and done really well, and I think he wanted to kind of take it to the next level, so he approached us because Knowledge had been going for almost about 10 years at that point, and it was doing quite well. He's thinking, I do words, they do words, you know, I need a bit of a helping hand to kind of take it to the next level. So he approached us, and kind of through that, really, like I was saying. But I mean, I got a bit carried away with economies of scale with that book. I did about 8,000 copies, which is a lot. I mean, I think I was doing about 40 or 50,000 with Knowledge at the time. So I was thinking, you know, 8,000 is small fry, you know.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the first lot of books when they arrived, like I was saying, because all the books, I mean, everybody got to see the magazines, really, you know, you got a few, but they just kind of disappeared into the shops and you didn't really see them again. But obviously the books you get delivered and it's just like, shit, that's a lot of books.
How is it for you when you first got published? Because I know everybody has a different feeling. I was speaking to an author yesterday who had his first book published for the first time, and he was telling me it was like a 13-year process for him to get his book done, because obviously he had things going on in his life, and you know, he had to spend time doing that, and it took him a while. But for you, obviously you have way more experience than he does. So how is it for you getting your book published and doing the magazines, and how is it all for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, again, Knowledge, I mean, it started off like so small. I mean, the first issue was in 1994. It was like 12 pages, A5, black and white. So it was, I mean, it was tiny little fanzine, and it just, but it was all small steps, like real small incremental improvements that we always tried to make each issue, especially in those early years, bigger and better somehow in the last. So you're talking like more pages, more colours, bigger size, you know, and before about 5 years, you know, suddenly it turned from this small, you know, little quite amateur fanzine into quite a kind of professional magazine. But I mean, I always, the best day of doing any magazine is the day it gets delivered from the printers. You know, I mean, the excitement, I still get that with the books, you know, when you see it and you're actually physically, you know, holding it, and because you can see the proofs and you kind of imagine what it's going to look like until you actually see it and feel it and smell it as well. That's what I'm saying, the smell of a new book, you know, all the sensations is, you know, is great. And like I said, and it's difficult because the magazines, you know, there's such a quick turnaround. You know, we're doing it every like 5 weeks, so you kind of. But the books, I can imagine this author you're talking about, you know, it's taken a long time, you know what I mean? And it does take, I mean, we just did a book called Join the Future. That was the first book with Velocity Press. And the guy was working on that for like 10 years, you know, and it's like, you know, probably seriously for 5 years, but the original idea was 10 years. And, you know, that's a long, long time. I mean, it's different because I'm not a writer. You know, I'm a book publisher, so I'm doing like 3 or 4 books a year. But even still, you know, I mean, it takes a while, and you know, like it can take a year or two. So to get this, like I say, when it's back in it and it looks amazing, you're just like, again, you can't beat that feeling.
Are you a book publisher where you only specifically do music books, or do you do all round books? Would you say?
Electronic music and club culture.
Yeah,
that's our little niche. So yeah.
So what would you say if someone's bringing a book to you? What do you look for as a book publisher? Even if it's within the music genre, what do you look for? What stands out to you?
Will I be able to sell it?
Yeah, fair enough.
Is it a market?
Yeah.
Is there a market for it?
Yeah.
You know, will people buy it? I mean, I get some really good ideas. I mean, and again, it's sometimes because we're fairly specialist, and it's quite a small niche that we're in. I don't really want to kind of have a niche of a niche. I mean, there's some guy, like I was saying, this Italian guy approached me, like I was saying, I think he was doing some sort of techno in Rome and something. I'm sure it's a very interesting story to him. He probably, you know, it's very important, the story needs to be told, but I'm looking at, you know, techno, again, it's a kind of quite a big genre, but you're talking quite a kind of narrow kind of market there. Probably will just appeal to kind of people in Italy, maybe particularly Rome, and that's a small market. So I'm looking for kind of, first of all, with my business head on, will I be able to sell it? Is there a market for it? And then, you're looking for things like, is it how well can the person write, kind of, and a lot of other kind of things after that.
So if someone's bringing something to you, what do you expect? Because I heard that with book publishers, you have to write like a script or a letter to present the book. What do you look for when someone's presenting it to you?
I mean, somebody can come to me with a little germ or an idea. They can kind of just a quick pitch, and from that I can kind of think, well, yeah, there could be a market there, there might not be. So they don't have to come with a kind of a serious proposal. It's better if they do, because I will ask for that. Even if it's just a little jam, I'll send them away and kind of go, okay, well, I want more of a serious proposal. After that, kind of tell me like who the market's going to be. I'm saying what other similar books there are. A synopsis, and maybe some examples of what it looks like, especially if they've started writing already. It all depends. They might have started writing it, they might not have. If they have started writing it, I would like to see something, like I said. And so
that makes total sense.
But like I say, but a serious proposal.
Can you talk us through the process of a start of the process of publishing to the end of the process of publishing a book? Yeah,
a good example would be like Join the Future. That was our first book. So I kind of Matt, like this is the guy. He'd already been kind of writing it for quite a while. He hadn't finished it, but I kind of approached him about a year ago, just over a year ago. So I set him a deadline to finish the book. So I think when the book comes out, you're probably looking at about. So you set basically a publishing date, and then you're looking at kind of probably 3 months kind of before that, as when you're going to maybe kind of need the advance kind of information sheet. That's the sort of thing where you'll kind of that's what distributor wants. They want that 6 months in advance before the book comes out. So that is, for that's basically for the book trade. So you're on that, you'd have stuff like the kind of synopsis, some sales points, some quotes from people that, unrecognisable figures who, are basically validating it, and a little kind of author kind of biog and a book cover. So you kind of get the book design kind of done first, just the actual cover. This, you can kind of amend it later down the line, but you want to have that cover kind of design. So that's probably one of the first things you're going to have done. And then after that, you'd be looking at probably I always try to put the books on sale, do a pre-sale. That would probably come next, maybe a couple of months. That's probably 4 months, 3 or 4 months, I would say, before the actual book goes on sale. I do a pre-sale. So I offer things like get your name in the book, signed by the author, and you'll get it maybe like a month in advance. I always try to kind of give myself like a month window.
Yeah,
I'll basically be able to sell the book exclusively. Yeah. You get probably double the profit margin selling it direct is what you do selling it through a shop. Shops are important. I love bookshops, but I've always tried to kind of sell as many books directly as possible. So doing the pre-sale is important. Again, that's handy because, cash flow, it's a very cash flow intensive business. You're basically putting all your costs up front, but also lets gives you an idea of how many copies to print. You're kind of sticking your finger in there a little bit, and you can see, like I was saying, straight away how many copies, like I'm saying, and how much interest is in this book already. You can see that's important as well. So then you're probably looking at maybe 2 months. Let's have a look. 3 months, I would say. You're probably looking to kind of get the basically finished manuscript from the author, so 3 months before the actual publication date, and then you'd be looking at doing some proofing of that, maybe checking a few things with the author. So we spend a few weeks doing that. Then you're looking at getting the book typeset. finishing off the kind of the design as well. So, and then you're probably talking about 5 weeks before it's going to come out. It's going to the printers, and then you'll need about 5 weeks to kind of get it printed, and then you're going to get the books back, delivered to you. So, and then I'll spend, like I say, about 4 weeks actually selling it exclusively, and then it'll go on sale in the shops.
Oh, wow. So it is quite a long process.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably, can be 9 months or something, even a year, really, depending. Probably less than a year, but I would say kind of around about 9 months is probably when you're looking at. Yeah.
Do you ever get stressed during the process?
Yeah, there's always little things that kind of come up. I mean, the most recent one, not so much stress, but I mean, it was there's a book with Junior Tomlin. It's just coming to come out. That's going to come out next week, and there was so much back and forth between the printer and the designer, the typesetter, and he kept doing something wrong. Like I was saying, the printer was like, no, this format, you did this, and it took about 2 or 3 weeks to get that sorted out. And it's like, so I've missed my 4-week opportunity to sell it direct with this one. It's kind of basically just going straight into the shops. But that was getting me stressed. Like I say, with everything else that's happening at the moment as well. It's just like, just get this.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're kind of in the middle and you're just seeing all these emails, and you're kind of like, no, this is wrong this time. Surely, guys, I mean, get it sorted, So that wasn't a minor stress. I can handle that. Like I said, it'd probably be more stressful if I was doing like a book tour and everything. Usually I would be doing that, but I'm not doing that. So it doesn't really matter so much. It's just annoying missing this 4-week exclusive window, but it's not the end of it. So it's actually only going to come out slightly late in the shop. So it's not too bad. But yeah, there's always little things like that that will come up, that'll stress you. Things are not quite going according to plan, but as long as they're not too major, I can handle it.
Yeah. What's the first book you ever read?
First book I ever read?
Yeah, if you can remember. Yeah.
Oh.
Your face.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm bringing you back a bit.
You're back. I mean, I don't know. I was saying it's probably. Are you talking like something my mum read to me? Like I say when I was my kind of actually.
Yeah, you. The first book you physically said to yourself, "Okay, I'm going to read this book. This is the book I'm going to read because I generally like it. I have a connection with it. It intrigues me."
Do you know what? It was probably something in school. I used to be into these kind of like detective kind of novels, but it was kind of like, I don't know. I remember the Hardy Boys. Like
yeah,
saying,
I've seen it. Yeah.
It'd be something like that. Like I'm saying, because they were kind of these two kids in America, I think, that kind of did all this amateur detective stuff. Kind of. It would be something like that. But I mean, I was. a particular memory from school. Like I said, I was really into reading books at school, and there was one time it was like lunchtime, and I was kind of reading my book, and I really wanted to finish the chapter, and I think they rang the bell, and you had to kind of, this was inside, you're allowed to be inside the classroom, and you're supposed to kind of go back to your desk, and kind of they had this kind of like, remember those kind of bookshelves that you could open and close?
Oh, yeah,
like I said.
yeah.
So I kind of hid myself kind of behind that, so you couldn't see, because I really wanted to find it. And it's like, where's Colin? And they kind of eventually found me kind of reading kind of there, kind of trying to finish this kind of chapter. And was probably, this is primary school, about 9 or 10.
Oh, wow.
And I think a teacher kind of found it hard to get me into trouble, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, you're taking a bit such keen interest in reading. And, but yeah, I did get into trouble as well. But a few kind of people that are kind of, from my class that have found out what I'm doing now, they're kind of going, well, it makes sense. You know?
It does make sense, because everyone that I've interviewed so far, I realised that they have a passion for what they do since they were young, and it's influenced them now. So they are on the right track of doing exactly what they need to be doing, because they've been doing it ever since they was a child or young. I can't believe you got in trouble though because you were reading a book. I thought the teacher maybe would have turned around and said, "Oh, that's a good thing," rather than get you in trouble.
I think it's just kind of, they had to kind of show the kind of like, you can't, you know, when the bell goes, you have to go back to your desk,
strict,
sort of thing. You know, you kind of, so they kind of got into a little bit of trouble, but I think they were kind of got too much. What
do you feel like is a common trap for writers that they get into when writing a book?
I think sometimes they've got a great idea, but sometimes it's the structure, you know, of the book. Like I say, pulling it, they've got great ideas, but kind of putting it all together and a narrative as well. Like, I mean, a cohesive narrative that runs through the book. And that kind of sometimes can be kind of hard to achieve. And it's, you know, it can be very, very overwhelming, like I say, in trying to kind of put a book together. I think sometimes people kind of get great ideas, but actually kind of the physical kind of structure and narrative, pulling that together, I think people, they can fall into a trap of kind of struggling to kind of just make sense of it all.
How do you know as a book publisher that you found talent, that you found a great book to publish? What does it do to you? How do you feel?
I mean, you don't know. I mean, again, it's a funny one because, like, Matt Annis, I set up Velocity Press just over, well, first book came out in November, but like I was saying, I found kind of this guy, Matt Annis, to do this book called Join the Future, like a kind of year ago. And it was just, you know, like I said, he'd been writing it. He'd been writing it for quite a few years, like I said already. And he showed me like a kind of a sample, like the introduction. And reading that, I was just like, yes, this is great. But I mean, it's a punt, you know, it's a complete punt. But I thought this sounds like a great book, like exactly what I want to do. But until I kind of got the manuscript and kind of got it out there, it's a leap of faith, you know. And once you kind of, now I know, like I say, Matt's a great writer, like I was saying, but you know, but it is quite a leap of faith because a lot of these people are music journalists. And it's a different thing writing, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 words feature to writing 70,000, 80,000, 100,000 word book, you know, like it has good structure and a narrative, you know. So yeah, like I was saying, you think these people are capable, but you know, until you get it back from them, but again, you'll be getting drafts along the way. You'll be checking in with them, you know, like to make sure, and you're giving them feedback. But yeah, I mean, when you do, I mean, like the feeling, like I was saying, of finding a great writer with like saying with Matt Annis was brilliant. I mean, it's put Velocity Press on the map. This book, you know, what I mean, it's such a good book. I was so lucky, like I saying, I found him just by kind of Googling on the internet, really. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, I was just, you know, I was looking because I've obviously got the background in knowledge.
Yeah. So you know exactly what you're looking for.
There was a lot of writers there. I was kind of going, I want to set up a book publishing company. You know, have you got any kind of ideas for books? And nobody really had anything that I could do within that time frame. So I just went on to the internet and did a quick search for like kind of electronic music dance journalists, and I came across Matt had been interviewing a guy called Matthew Colin, who's done a couple of books called Rave On and Altered State. Really, really good writer. He used to be editor of ID. So I approached. I kind of found his page, his web page, Matt, and I sent him, you know, tell him what we want to do, and you know if he had any ideas. And he said, "Yeah, I've got this book idea for this book called Join the Future." And as soon as he sent me the proposal, I'm like, "Yes, you know, this is it." And it really, like I'm saying, the feedback. I mean, it's been amazing. Like I say, and again, and it tells. It kind of breaks the kind of the dominant narrative of that, because it's a book on kind of bleak techno. So this kind of very kind of short-lived, overlooked kind of music scene from '89 to about '91, of this kind of the dominant myth of kind of how acid house kind of started in this country. You know, so many people believe that, you know, it's very London South-centric thing, and it did play an important role, London in the South, but it was, you know, as much. About even Scotland as well, like I say, and you know, interesting things were happening around the country at that time. Instead of kind of, you know, four boys go to kind of Ibiza, you know, kind of Paulo Control, Danny Rampling, etc. Set up Shum and, you know, Spectrum, and you know, Acid House was born. That you know, that kind of counters that myth. So a lot of people, you know, have kind of appreciated that, and like I say, and I'm getting some very interesting people now wanting to write for Velocity Press, some good established names because of that book.
Okay. Tell us a bit about Velocity Press. Now that we're on the subject, please tell us about Velocity Press, what you do in it, how it all works, how it all started.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably told you quite a lot already. So, I mean, it's kind of, so, I mean, basically, I mean, I did Knowledge Magazine until about 2014. Then we kind of stopped it. Like I say, it just kind of ran its course. We stopped the magazine in 2009, and they kind of ran for a while, kind of online. Until 2014, and it was a bit of a shame. It kind of just ran its course. So for about 5 years, I was kind of doing a lot of kind of corporate stuff, working. I do a lot of IT kind of things, and I kind of saw, because I wasn't really involved with kind of music. But All Crews, like I say, my 8,000 copies, like I say, they were sold about 3,000 off the bat, and then kind of they just slowly kind of dwindled. But that's what kind of kept me that kind of involved, and I just noticed this book just kept selling, with no promotion whatsoever, just kept selling to word of mouth, physically as well. Like, although it is available as an ebook, it was predominantly physical. So I knew kind of people were interested in good books, music non-fiction books, and for so long, doing this 5 years, I was kind of in the wilderness. Kind of I missed kind of music scene and kind of publishing and being self-employed. Just I didn't really enjoy it. I was making good money, but it wasn't for me. So eventually, I did decide that I wanted to kind of get back, and there was a few different ideas, and then I just realised, like a pure light bulb moment, is just like book publishing. So many of my other ideas were like things that had to do with other people, and I was kind of relying on them. But then I was just thinking, book publishing is actually something I can do myself. I need the writers, obviously, but I can do everything. I mean, it's like a complete one-man band. I do, a lot of like loads of freelancers, but the marketing, the distribution, liaison with the printer, that's all me. All the project management kind of side of it, really, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, just over a year ago, I got laid off from my job, and I got a bit of a redundancy payout. So I knew I could buy me a bit of time to kind of get the company kind of set up. So like I said, so just over a year ago, I kind of set it up. We published the first book, Join the Future, in November. I've told you quite a lot about that already, how that kind of came to be. We did another book called State of Bass, The Origins of Jungle Drum and Bass. That is a revised reissue of a book that came out in 97. Obviously, some subject close to my heart, drum and bass. So that came out in March. And then we've got this third book coming out next week. That's Junior Tomlin, flyer and cover art. So that's quite different. That's Junior Tomlin. He used to design a lot of record covers for bands like Renegade Soundwave, back in the day, and he worked for like companies like Mute, Kickin', Vinyl Solution, and then he designed like all these kind of crazy rave flyers that earned him the moniker the Salvador Dali of rave, real far out kind of, so this is more like a really kind of deluxe coffee table book, which is quite different from the first two. They're more like, your paperbacks, very text heavy. So it's again, and I don't want to be kind of, again, Velocity Press is electronic music and club culture. So it needs to be quite, I don't want people to pigeonhole as we do a certain type of book, we cover a certain type of music. I want it to be, I'd even consider doing, something about electronic music in the 60s or 70s, but, pre-Acid House. I don't want to be kind of known for doing just one thing. It's good to be kind of
open to,
have your niche, but kind of not like I was saying earlier, don't, you've got to be a broad niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
So that's a good book, and then we've got a few other things in the pipeline. So it's because I know so many great electronic music journalists, and now we're on the map a little bit. I'm getting some really, really interesting proposals. So it's all. I couldn't wish for a better first 12 months. It's all going really well, and it's a shame what's happened recently, obviously with the lockdown, because but with so many plans.
How has that affected you?
I'm lucky because I'm a one-man band. It's still really, really very. I haven't got any employees. It's just me. Again, I invested quite a lot in a really good e-commerce platform for us. So I sell a lot of books myself on the website, on velocitypress.uk. So I'll be still, obviously post offices have still been open. I've still been able to, sales have coming in. I can go out there and I can, they're still ticking over. So I'm lucky in some ways. It's still quite early, and I've managed to kind of, even though the printers are still open, I've managed to kind of do this book, this Junior Tomlin book, to get it out. I suppose the main way it's affected affected is not being able to kind of get out and for events. There was loads of events. I mean, especially State of Base, we were just about to go in and go on the road and do this really cool tour. We had about 5 or 6 dates all over the UK, with some real good plans. So doing events, I love going out to the events, meeting people, fellow music fans, kind of talking to them and sitting on stage and kind of chatting with the author. Because the thing about the authors, it's a great relationship you have with them, but you're basically, it's via the internet, so it's emails, or you maybe talk on the phone a little bit, but actually getting to spend time with them, getting to know them, getting that bond with them, sitting with them on stage, having a laugh and playing some music and like I say, meeting the fans. That's what I enjoy. And the same with Junior Tom, we're not going to be able to do that. So that's the way it's affected me the most. But I can't complain compared to a lot of other people. I can handle that. That's no problem.
Are you reading anything at the moment?
Yeah. I'm actually reading the book on Joy Division. Like I say, I've still got my Mindy roots. Like I still love that. I love music non-fiction. That's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I read a lot of fiction as well, but that's part of the reason why I even started Velocity Press in the first place. Was there's so much good music non-fiction, but so very, very small kind of
niche of books.
There's not many on electronic music and club culture, but I love reading, all types of books.
Oh, that's perfect. What would you say if I left? Okay, here's a question for you. I like to ask people: if you were left on a desert island and you were only allowed to bring one book with you, what book would you bring, and why would you bring that particular book?
Oh man, on the spot or what?
I like those ones.
It's have to be quite a long book. Let's put it that way. Tricky one.
I was also going to say, if you had one album to bring with you, what album would you bring?
Yeah, that's even harder. Jeez.
I got Colin on the spot.
The Dice Man was always a book that I read that so quickly. Like I say, I'd absolutely devoured that book. That was a long, long time ago. Like that book always kind of, and a book you just, you kind of can't put through. Very controversial book, actually. Like I say, maybe not so PC these days, but that was a book. It was very, very funny, and enjoyed that. Called Luke Reinhardt. So I'd kind of maybe that one. I could kind of probably enjoy reading that one. Music, oh man. I'm going to go for Boards of Canada, Music is the Right to Children. Yeah, I love that album. Like I say, and that is, and I can. It's got to be something that stands up, to repeated listening. And yeah, that one. But there's so many other good music out there. Like I say, and it's funny because a lot of these kind of. Obviously in Facebook at the moment, people are doing their top tens. Nobody ever did nominate me, like I was saying, but I was in my mind, I was kind of like in my top 10. I was thinking of just nominate myself just to put them out there.
But why not?
You seem a bit sad, but
no, it's not at all.
but so the kind of, I was thinking about the kind of the 10 albums, like I say. But yeah, Music is the Right to Children is probably one that I can still listen to, on repeat and not get bored with it.
Was that the first album you listened to? But what was the first album you actually listened to that made you feel music and made you want to get into the music genre?
That's easy. The Beatles, the White Album.
Yeah.
The White Album. It's funny because one of my friends' dads owned like a record shop, and he gave us like the Red Album, which is obviously the greatest hits, to about 63 to about 66. This was probably about 8 or 9 I was, and he gave the Blue, but it was kind of that's the rest of the best of from like 67 to about 70, and the White Album, which the White Albums are the only actual kind of standard. It's not a compilation. Yeah, it's an artist album, and it's got so much weird stuff on there. I mean, it's even got Obla Di Obla Da, which I hate. Probably my least favourite Beatles song. But the rest of the album, like I said, it's got Helter Skelter, Blackbirds. And then that was because obviously the other albums got all the the singles on it, but this has got all kind of the weird kind of things on it. Revolution Number 9. That really opened my mind up. Like, and I loved that album. Like I say, that was probably the first album that kind of I was like, yeah, this is great.
How do you take criticism? I know everybody takes criticism in a different way, but when it comes to getting books published for the author and also yourself, how are you when you hear something back about your book or things getting published or the way you do things? How are you with criticism, and what advice would you give to other people about criticism?
Don't take it too hard. I mean, I think we're our own worst critics. Sometimes I am, sometimes I notice things and I really kick myself for it and I blow it out of proportion and it's not that bad. People don't kind of care. But sometimes, when you've got to expect criticism that comes with the territory, you're putting your head above the parapet, and you've got to, and if you don't, you'll never get anything done, and you just got to take it on the chin. And as long as it's nothing too personal, what I'm saying, it's for a reason. You've got to look at a person's point of view for why they're saying it, and as long as it's legitimate, I'll take it on the chin, and I'll kind of think, yeah, and I'll make sure I do better next time. It won't stop me from doing what I'm doing, and I'll come back, and I'll try to make sure like that's this person, for whatever reason they criticised me before, won't have an opportunity to do it again. I'll use to improve myself. So yeah, don't beat yourself up.
Okay. What one thing would you give up to be a better publisher? So if there was anything that you could give up and say, I'm going to give you this talent so it makes me a better publisher, what would you give up?
What talent would I give up?
It could be a talent. It could be the way you do things in something else, just so that you're a better publisher or to be a better publisher. Is there anything that you feel that you would give up to be a better publisher?
It's a tricky one. I don't know. I mean, the one thing I don't want giving up, but it would make me a better publisher is I would want to be a better writer. I'd want to be able to publish my own books. That would make me a better publisher. I feel that'd be great. I can write. I started off as a writer. I'm a decent, competent writer. But I can never write. I don't maybe I could, like I said. But
I think you could. I think it's just maybe an adventure for you that you haven't really gone into, maybe.
Well, the thing with with writing, which I'm such a slow writer. It takes me. A good writer can just bosh it out. It would take me 5 times, like I say, that the amount of time they would take it or more to get. I'm really slow.
Is there a reason behind that, Colin? Is there a reason behind
just slow,
Oh.
it just takes me a while to kind of get it. I think some people are just naturals, and I'm not a natural writer.
Okay.
I'm a decent, good, kind of competent writer, but I'm not.
At least you're honest about it as well. Because, yeah,
that's right. You've got to know the strengths.
Yeah.
And when I first set up Knowledge, I was doing all the writing, and then I kind of slowly but surely I kind of devolved and kind of delegated. I knew where my strengths lay, and I could write, but the amount of time it took me, my time was better spent elsewhere, being like editor and publisher. That's where my strengths lay, and I realised that, and I knew there was better writers out there than me, and I kind of let them kind of do their thing.
What's the most difficult part of your artistic process when it comes to book publishing and being a writer? What's the hardest thing, do you think, for you?
I think it's hard sometimes, giving feedback and criticising kind of when you don't like something, especially, when it's a writer, like I was saying. Again, we're talking about criticism. They've got to be able to kind of handle kind of criticism and not take it kind of too personally. And kind of, again, there's probably those good reasons why I'm saying it, but that's never an easy thing. That's always very difficult to kind of to tell the kind of writer, like I said, they need to chop this or chop that or do this differently, or kind of that's not good. That's not an easy sort of thing. But again, if they're a good experienced writer, they know that's part and parcel. Again, it just depends where they are in their journey of being a writer.
Well, what's the boundary? What boundaries would you say that you push for yourself and for the people you work with, so you all can be better at what you do?
I mean, I think it's that continual self-improvement, kind of looking at kind of like, okay, I did that was good, but how can I make it better? Next time, how can I improve? doesn't have to be a big improvement. It's just, a small incremental kind of, what can I do better? Like I say, and again, I think I used that example before with knowledge in the early days. Like I say, and it was always, how can we just make each issue slightly bigger and better than the last? And like I say, and that was the one you really noticed it, after 5 or 6 years of doing it, and that's the thing, again, just always what I'm doing with your podcasts. How can I just, what can I do? It might be a physical thing. It might be kind of, getting it wider distribution, might be, but how can I kind of make it slightly better than the last one? How can I improve it? There's always room for improvement,
If there was one quote out there that would represent you as a person, what quote would you choose, and why would you choose that particular quote for you?
Oh my God. No. I was going to say, I think if you'd given me some advance notice of some of these questions, I could have maybe prepared a wee bit more.
No, it's okay. I like it when it's random and it's on the spot, because it gives people a chance to see how you think and feel about things.
Yeah. Quote.
Some people don't have one. They just go day by day.
I think it's going to be something to do with kind of hard work and determination, and kind of like, I've never, like I say, I always knew I wanted to do something kind of creative when I was younger, and I've never was the most creative when it came to kind of having an artistic talent. But it's kind of, I suppose, something maybe, again, something about knowing your strengths, and like I say, and kind of being able to kind of realise, not be kind of deluded. Some people are just completely deluded about kind of where they are kind of, if they're good at something or not. And to have that kind of capacity to be able to kind of analyse and kind of look at kind of what you're good at and what you're not good at, and like and do more of what you're good at and delegate to other people, where you're not, and kind of use them to improve yourself. I mean, that's something that I kind of, a lesson that I kind of learned early. Again, because I was like, I wouldn't consider myself being the most artistic and creative kind of person. I kind of always wanted to make music, and I don't DJ kind of, but it doesn't matter. I'm still a creative person, but I would say it's more on the kind of the business and the kind of the project management kind of side of things. I kind of work with the artists, but it needs somebody kind of like me to kind of to bring these artistic projects to life. And that's when I kind of saying, so it is kind of creative, but it's a bit more slightly removed, I suppose, than being a directly creative person. So, does that answer your question?
No, it makes sense. It makes total sense. It helps. Even if it's kind of structured around it helps. What is the best money you've spent on a book? What would you say is the best money that you've ever spent on a book?
I don't know, something I thought you were going to ask you, actually, a different question to start off with. The best money I've ever spent in anything was an Apple Mac Classic.
Okay.
In 1993, and that was kind of what, it was a little 4 megabyte RAM, 40 megabyte hard drive, all in one kind of little kind of unit. Like I was saying, it was quite kind of prehistoric now looking at how computers are. But that was the kind of final piece in the jigsaw that let me set up Knowledge magazine.
Oh wow!
So that's, like I say, that was the kind of the best
money
I've spent kind of anything. That money I've basically kind of let me kind of have this kind of career in some ways. Without that, I don't think I would have been able to do it. That was a lot of kind of things were falling into place. So that was probably the best money I've spent on any kind of object. But book, probably. Are you talking about value? Like I was saying.
No, just in the sense of like a book that you've bought to read. What's the best book you feel that you've spent your money on to read? So value for money in your eyes.
Value for money. I remember buying Slaughterhouse-5, Kurt Vonnegut Jr., like I say, in America when I went kind of over there, and that was kind of like bought in a second-hand shop, and that actually is worth a lot of money. Now, that kind of popped into my head, but to me, like I say, that was... that kind of led me into kind of discovering him as well. Like I say, as a writer, like I don't read so much of his these days, but back when I was quite kind of around about 20 or something, I absolutely loved his stuff, and that was a good book. Yeah, that's probably a good one. But the Illuminati trilogy as well. That's probably a good one to take to the desert island as well. It's kind of popped into my head because that's like proper pick.
It'd be a nice desert island, so you'll have a while.
Yeah. Good.
If you had infinity money,
Mm-hmm.
what are a few things that you would change within the publishing industry for you? What do you feel that you would change in the publishing industry if you had infinity money?
Well, the actual industry itself, or how I do kind of.
It could be both. It could be how you do things and how you would change it.
I mean, setting up something to challenge Amazon,
Okay.
I think would be a good thing. Amazon,
I like that.
don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody from buying things from Amazon, but, it's really, a good bookshop, book specialist alternative to Amazon. I think would be good that treats book publishers a bit fairer. I mean, the amount of commission they take, and they just completely have got such monopoly. They do absolutely. I mean, I think like it's book publishing is no different. I mean, they're in so many different industries and marketplaces now. But yeah, setting up, like I say, a really, really good online alternative to Amazon. That would be probably what I would do. Yeah.
Define what success means to you. Define it in your interpretation. What does success mean to you in your way?
Doing what I want to do, I mean, and that leads to happiness, like I was saying. Just being able to survive and support my family, like I was saying,
that makes sense.
that's success. As I'm saying, it's just not being greedy. Like I'm saying, kind of don't want to make tons of money, but I want to make enough to, like I'm saying, to be able to have a self-sustainable business. And being recognised for what I do, and being able to travel and meet people, that's success.
No, that makes sense. Well, if you weren't doing book publishing and magazines, what do you think that you would be doing?
If I hadn't kind of gone down this road.
If you haven't gone down the road, I know we haven't touched yet about you being a speaker as well. But if you weren't doing those,
probably would have been. It was always going to be something in music. It was funny because it was a bit of a path at that time. Because, like I say, we started, before I did Knowledge magazine. I've moved to Bristol. This is '93, and we set up a jungle drum and bass club called Roughneck Ting. And my old school friend Marky Ledge, he was kind of getting into making music at that point. He'd set up his label, and I was kind of helping him kind of run his label, and I was going to do Knowledge at the same time. And it was a kind of a crossroads, or a fork path, where I basically said to Mark, listen, I can't really kind of be involved with the label anymore because, I'm doing the magazine. I need to be involved with that in 100%. So if I hadn't kind of set up the magazine, I probably would have kind of gone down the music kind of industry route, like I say, and been involved with like a record label. Mark, actually went on. He set up a band called Koshin, who were really quite big in around about 2000, 2001. So probably I would have been more involved with the music industry. There's always going to be something with music, but like I said, it's just music and writing, and so I'm probably in the music industry somehow. There's a record, maybe A&R, or the business somewhere.
Tell me a little bit about you being a speaker as well, because I know you're a speaker. So what is it about you being a speaker that helps you, or what do you actually do around being a speaker?
Well, it's something I haven't really done that much of. It's something I'm trying to kind of pitch myself as. I've kind of realised that I've been around a long time now. And it's like that insight that I've got to kind of, the 90s, I realise that kind of a lot of people don't have that, and are very interested in it because things have changed so much. Those pre-internet days, it's like, wow, as I'm saying, there's a life before the internet, and so that insight and knowledge that I've got is valuable, and like a lot of people want to hear about that. So I kind of, obviously, when I do book launches, what I'll do is we'll go on tour, and I'll be the kind of the interviewer, kind of more your kind of position, and I'll be kind of asking the writer kind of, but last year, I got invited to the Alberta Electronic Music Conference, and I gave like a keynote speech on kind of basically electronic music media, kind of how it's changed in the last 25 years. I set up, and talking about the kind of the pre-internet days and then the changes to internet, kind of how that affected the business. Then, so that's, after kind of doing that, and I did a few panels as well. I appeared in a few panels, and that's something that I want to do more of. As I'm saying, enjoy, like I was saying, talking. I can talk all day saying about things, and it's it's good fun, and I have got a lot of good industry knowledge and insight.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And it's, as we were saying earlier, it's it takes me out of my comfort zone. I'm not a natural being in the kind of the limelight. I prefer kind of being in the background. But and it's good, and it's about, that's another kind of thing that's really important, the kind of your personal branding, getting out there, like I was saying, obviously there's building your brand as a company, but your brand as a person as well. What are you? What do you stand for? And doing kind of appearing in public speaking is a great way to build that and get a reputation. And again, it's just another way to get out there, go to interesting places, meet interesting people. In this internet day and age, it's so easy just to sit there at your computer and never really kind of meet anybody. But
that's true.
Getting out there, the relationships that you make with people when you meet somebody face to face, as opposed to just speaking on the phone or online, is completely different. That goodwill that you engender, like I'm saying, people will do things for you, or you do things for people. I always remember kind of going on some marketing course in the 90s, and they were saying the value of face-to-face personal relations is so important, and it's something that's always stuck with me. And so getting out there and meeting people, like forcing yourself to do it, finding ways to do it is really important.
How does that help you with your confidence? Because a lot of people who are speakers, you have to have some kind of confidence to enable you to go out and speak in front of people. Yeah,
I mean that keynote speech I gave, I had to rehearse that, so much, and I was just, I had to sit down, like I was saying, I didn't, it's can't be reading off your cards, as I'm saying, the whole time, but you need to kind of, I'd never really done that before, and it was speaking in front of 200 people, that are really expecting you to come with some pearls of wisdom, God, it was nerve-wracking, but again, putting yourself through it, preparing, really, really preparing hard, really, doing your groundwork and your research, and then kind of doing it. And then afterwards, some of the relief and the kind of the adrenaline, and realizing I can do it, I can, if you force yourself to do it, you're capable of so many amazing things.
That's true. I agree with you there. Most definitely. How do you feel like the music industry has changed in the genre of music that you have a niche in? Because from where it was back in the day to where it is now, how do you feel that it's changed, and how do you feel the artists have changed?
It's the obvious one. It's just like, it's so hard to make a living off of selling music now, and that's the biggest change in the internet. The value of music is just decreased so much. It's like a lifestyle commodity now, and it's a shame. That that's changed. But again, I suppose the access now. It's people can get such great access to good music through the internet. That's probably the biggest change. There's the pros and cons of things. I think again, kind of, I don't know. Clubbing and music, kind of going to clubs is still important, but I don't think so. I don't think it's that same kind of community spirit, really, of what it was, so much. But actually, it's been around like 30 years now, kind of, since Acid House. You can't expect it to stay the same, and kids have got their own things. It seems to have kind of gone more towards a kind of more of a kind of festival kind of, bigger, that's how it seems to have kind of gone. It's a shame that the small underground clubs, that's what I love the most, the 100, 200, 300 capacity venues, and they're struggling, and they're struggling even more because of what's happening. And it's going to be interesting to see, how things change coming out of lockdown with a lot of these venues. It'll be sad to see a lot of them. A lot of them have been struggling already. I hope it's not the final nail in the coffin with a lot of them. But so many people, like I was saying, they find their communities online now, and even with live streaming, it'll be interesting to see again what happens with this afterwards. Will this continue? Do people still need to go out physically to feel that part of community anymore? As I'm saying, I don't know. Like I was saying, I hope they do, because again, it was all about going out, like I was saying, and that was what I enjoyed the most. Like I was saying, actually.
Now there's festivals online, so I don't know how that works for me, but how does it work for you with festivals actually being online?
It's not the same thing, is it? It's just not. It's not. That. I mean, that's the thing. That's the whole thing. I was at Glastonbury. I mean, I had some Glastonburys. I didn't even see one band or anything. I was just with my mate. It's just the whole time just wandering around, like saying the whole weekend or festivals, just, having a laugh with your friends, you didn't see anything, but you just had a great time. That was the young days, like I say. I think we were kind of, inebriated, but
that's true.
But yeah, but in that community, that spending time with your friends and just being up all night, meeting just complete randoms and having a laugh. Like I say, you don't get that. It's not all about seeing the DJ or seeing the band.
Yeah, true.
At festivals. It's about community. It's about spending quality time with your friends. Kind of going to the after party. Kind of going to somebody's house afterwards, staying up
all crashing.
watching the sun come up. You don't get that online.
No, that's definitely true. I think for the younger generation, I don't think they understand that. I think they need to experience that a lot more. I don't know how it will be when things go back to normal for clubs and bars, and even when I'm walking around, because I'm also a key worker. I'm walking around and everywhere is completely empty still.
Yeah,
and there's not anyone really out. Everything is closed, and you can see how much is affecting each business or each club. So it's pretty sad that it's that way.
I mean, it's going to take. Forget this year, even
loads of people have said that.
Really, still going to feel the after effects of this. It's just weird. I mean, mentally, like, people aren't ready for it. It's going to take a long time before people feel comfortable being in a small, sweaty club, like I was saying, jam-packed next to somebody. It's just, yeah.
Well, what advice would you give to any inspiring authors or book publishers who want to do what you do? What advice would you give to them, because you have so much knowledge on what you've been doing?
For writers, just write it. If you think you've got an idea and you don't have a publisher, just start writing it. Just start writing it, like I was saying, and it will take time. It will take a lot of time, but just get writing, and it might take 5-10 years. It might take longer, but like I say, just going to get writing. But at least when you do feel there's something ready there to start approaching, again, do your research, go out there, look at kind of book publishers doing something similar. And again, I would say start small. Like I was saying, look for small publishers. Like, they're the ones who are probably more likely to give you the time of day. And again, sometimes they might just give you feedback. Even agents as well, literary agents, kind of just start approaching. But again, be professional. And these people have got such limited time. And like I'm saying, you want to make, when you go there, like I was saying, you go in the correct manner. So you've got a good proposal, maybe a kind of sample of your writing. And again, for a book publisher, I would say, for a writer, I suppose this is self-publishing is such a great option as well. And that can lead to be a book publisher as well. But, look at doing self, there's so many resources and help online now. It's ridiculous. Like saying, if you Google, self-publishing, like you'll come across so many things. Again, it might even just be as an ebook. You don't have to do it physically. You can really keep the cost down. Like I say, but look at
how do you feel about ebooks, Colin? How do you feel? Yeah,
ebooks are fine. Yeah, no problem with ebooks. Like I say, it's funny. Book publishing is one of the last. Well, in my particular field of book publishing, it's still about physical. I would say I sell about 90% of my books physically, but 10% maybe ebooks. Some people prefer ebooks. It's obviously if they're abroad, like I say, and I can understand because so much of the costs will be on the actual post. It's going to be quite expensive if you're in Australia. The States can add like £8-10 to your order.
Yeah, that's true.
Like saying to buy it. So I can understand people want to, and I always want to have our books available as ebooks. But it's interesting. I mean, I always remember about 10 years ago, when Kindles and kind of ebooks came about, everybody was like, "Oh, the death of the physical book," and it has killed the magazine and the publishing industry. But books, and especially this kind of, the music kind of non-fiction kind of, it's people still want to. It's a superior, authentic product. Having the physical copy, people, you think about it, record, the music industry is just over 100 years old, really. Kind of, so, in that time you've had vinyl, you've had cassettes, and people are not too wedded to the format. But books, you're talking centuries, people have had books have been available. That's a connection that people are not going to give up easily. And it is something about the book. I mean, obviously, academic publishing, you're kind of, people have kind of, because they're quite expensive, those books anyway, that seems to have gone more towards kind of digital. But at the moment, physical's holding up fine with books. So, yeah, I don't view them as a threat or anything. I'm happily publish my books physically and digitally.
Oh, that's perfect. Colin, where can we find you? Finally, where can we find you? And give us all your social media.
Yes, so velocitypress.uk is the website. So if you go there, you can find out all about us and buy our books. On Twitter, we are at Press Velocity. And I think on Instagram, we're Velocity Press Books off the top of my head. And I think it's the same on Facebook as well. But the website's the place to go, velocitypress.uk.
That's perfect. Colin, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Yes People podcast and letting me pull so much knowledge from you today.
No. Thank you. Like you're saying some really interesting questions. You put me on the spot, made me feel uncomfortable a few times. So, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm saying it's, some of these kind of desert island questions, you're just kind of like, I'll be later on today, I'll be thinking, oh yeah, I forgot that.
You can message me. That's fine. Just message me and say, Savia, I've got it. And
I've got the answer.
And I'll pull it in the script at the bottom. I said, Colin finally found what he wanted to tell me, and this is what it is.
He's changed his mind.
He changed his mind. It's just totally fine. Colin, thank you so much for coming on the Yes People podcast. Guys,
thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Yes People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer to listen to. Also, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And also remember that you can donate to the Ask People podcast so we can continue to interview people like Colin here. So please remember, you can go in and just click paypal.me/Ask People podcast, or you can go on the Savia Rocks website, which is www.savia.rocks. And please remember to, as always, stay happy, stay positive, and continue to be kind to one another.
Yeah. Should be doing your job.